questions for this witness? That concludes the hearing on House Bill 7438. Representative Felix is...
Not yet.
She's not ready yet?
Oh, Bill Zeltman called before, and I'm texting her.
The next bill that we're going to hear is House Bill... And Representative Felix is here.
Hello, hello.
For House Bill 7514, Representative Felix represents the city of Pawtucket. She's a proud Shea High School graduate, a Raider, who is also, we're very proud of her, is an attorney at law, has a Juris Doctorate from Roger Williams University.
New England.
Oh, New England School of Law? She went out of state. That's extra credit.
That's Roger Williams' fault. That's for another story.
Okay, all right. Very good. Welcome, and please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Good to see you all. So I'm grateful to be before you today, not just as a sponsor of House Bill 7514, but also on behalf of my colleagues as a co-chair of the Rhode Island Black, Latino, Indigenous, Asian American, and Pacific Islander Caucus, RIBLIA for short. For those, is formerly the Black and Latino Caucus. This is one of our legislative priorities. So as you may know, the caucus has 21 members. 14 in the House, and also has 7 in the Senate, and we're about 18% of both chambers. And together we advocate for the interests of disadvantaged people throughout the state of Rhode Island. And this bill represents a pivotal opportunity for our state to transform what our educational system looks like and empower our children with the invaluable gift of bilingualism. While the benefits of dual language education are many, for the sake of time and all of you, I'll only highlight 4 reasons that I think is worth, the reasons why it's worth investing the $300,000 that we're asking for this legislation. The first one is educational equity. So this bill promotes educational equity by ensuring that all students, regardless of their backgrounds or linguistic heritage, have access to high-quality instructions. Dual language immersion programs have been shown to narrow the achievement gap by providing equal opportunities for language learners to all students. It's also cognitive development is the second. Research unequivocally demonstrate the cognitive benefits of bilingualism. By exposing students to rigorous language instructions from an early age, dual language immersion programs enhance cognitive skills such as problem solving, critical thinking, and multitasking. These are skills that are essential for success in today's interconnected and rapidly evolving world. The other benefit that I would like to highlight is the economic benefits to this program. Bilingualism opens the door to a myriad of economic opportunities for our students, for our communities. In an era where bilingualism is increasingly valued in the workforce, having dual language immersion programs gives the student that competitive edge that they will need in the job market, especially those job markets of the future. And the last one is that it allows us to fulfill our civil rights obligations. So this bill aligns with federal and state civil rights laws, including the Equal Education Opportunity Act and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which mandate that English language learners have access to appropriate language support services. So by enacting this legislation and properly funding, we are fulfilling our legal and moral obligations to ensure that all of our students, regardless of their heritage, the language that they speak, their background, have equal access to high-quality education. So House Bill 7514 represents a bold step towards an effort to provide every child in Rhode Island with a world-class education. By supporting this legislation, we are not only investing in the academic success of our students, but also really laying the foundation for a more prosperous, interconnected, and culturally vibrant future. So I urge you all to support the legislation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Very good. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Right down the street from Shea is the International Institute. It's a charter school representative. Is that your district?
No.
No, but you're aware of it, where half the day they speak Portuguese or French, the other half of the day they speak English, and I believe they have some of the highest math scores in the state. Plus, they wear uniforms, which I love, and I love it, you know. But, I think there's a demand for that.
Yeah.
And certainly, you know, after coming from Shea, where I know when I was there, we had 43 different countries represented, and many of us students, one of my favorite was a young man by the name of Jean-Louis from Senegal. He spoke 5 languages.
Wow.
And he took the SATs, and he was upset because he received a score of 480 and his verbal score. And he said, I just don't understand it. And I said, Jean-Louis, you speak 5 languages. That represents 20% of your vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
You are in an elite group of human beings, the top 2% on Earth that are that literate. So I think that one thing that I'd like to see is more credit for colleges and universities, especially when individuals that are multilingual take standardized tests. So, but
I agree with that, and I know, I believe Rep. Morales has a bill, or, we haven't passed it yet in terms of
literacy?
Not yet. We gotta work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just for context, if a high school student now earns the seal of biliteracy in a secondary language, they are now awarded college credit.
Yeah, so it's important to continue to expand those types of programs, because I, as someone who speaks 2 languages, for me is invaluable, and I've seen it firsthand here, even at the State House, when people come to testify, where they don't speak the language, they don't feel comfortable, and having someone be, like, I've been on the committee and translating for folks, or sit down with them and be able to translate for them. And that's just something that we can offer our constituents and our communities when we're able to communicate in the language that they speak. It really does help bridge that gap and like really promote trust among our students, among our community. So it's something that is super important, personally for me, and then also for our students, especially in a changing world that we have. So really hope that we can work together to find the funding for it. I know that is one of Wright's concern, which is mine as well. It's necessary that if we are going to create this, that we fund it appropriately so that it is a success, and that tomorrow we don't sit with our hands crossed like, why didn't it work? Well, if we didn't fund it, it's not going to work. So hoping we can all work together to make it better.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Representative Felix. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jim, and again, same thing, Rhode Island General Assembly webpage. Under this committee, under documents, there are 12 pieces of written testimony submitted to either in favor or against this bill.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Girardi.
Thank you. I just want to double down, as this is, again, that this is a priority for Riblia, and as a parent who has both of his children in, well, I have 3 children, but two of them are in bilingual education programs. The benefit is amazing, and so I am a strong advocate. I think this works, and would encourage everyone on this committee to consider this very closely. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Jessica, Vega, and Aaron Papa. If they could come up, please. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I always appreciate when the committee members already know what dual language programs are and the importance of it, and some of the nuances when it comes to the legislations that have already passed. So thank you so much for having me here. My name is Jessica Vega. I'm a senior policy analyst from Rhode Island Kids Count, and I want to thank Representative Felix, who did such an amazing job in talking about her bill. Rhode Island Kids Count would like to voice a strong support for House Bill 7514. That will continue to support multilingual learners by expanding dual language programs in the state of Rhode Island. Now, I'm not going to read my testimony word for word, but I do have several points that I think are important for the committee to hear. The first one being is that the state of Rhode Island has made important strides to support the educational outcomes of all students, and recognizing that multilingualism is an asset to the state. And the first critical step that the state took was instituting the categorical fund to support MLL students. The second, Brett Morales had already spoke on, was the Seal of Biliteracy that grants or awards high school students earn college credit towards a minor or major degree in a world language at the state public higher education. The second bucket that I think is really important to talk about within the MLL or this particular bill is the growth and disparities that exist among this subgroup. In just 2021-2022 school year, there were 16,682 MLL students, representing 12% of all students enrolled in public education from preschool to grade 12. MLL students are the fastest growing group of students, and I want to make sure that folks leave here understanding that these students are not just restricted in the four urban core districts, but they're also expanding into small cities and suburban communities. So for example, just for context, in a little over a decade in Newport alone, MLL students were 3% of the school population or the public school population. Now they're at 17%. So we're talking about from the school year of 2009 to 2021-22 school year. When it comes to disparity, our issue brief, and I know it's highlighted in the link in the PDF file that you received, we report on the educational outcomes and disparities among this group. And the indicator that we use to be able to support that data is the 2022 Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System. So for example, MLL students met expectations in math, only 14% compared to 39% of non-MLL students. And the English language art, 10% met expectation versus 41% of non-MLL students in the state of Rhode Island. And then when we're talking about graduation rate, in the year 2022, the overall graduation rate for high school students was 83%. But for MLL students, that number drops to 68%. And part of the problem is that for decades, the educational system discouraged schools and programs other than traditional English language or focusing on English-only materials. But there is exciting news. In just 2022 alone, there were 3,600 dual language programs throughout the nation. And even in our state, there were districts who had dual language programs. So for example, Central Falls, Pawtucket, Providence, Sound Kingston had it for a little bit. And also, as Rep. McNamara mentioned, in the international charter schools and the Rhode Island School for the Deaf. So why does this bill matter? It matters because when we introduce young children, especially at a very early age, to multiple language, they do better overall. So for example, we see that their cultural competencies increase, social emotional development, and English language skills also increase. And when we're thinking about the K through 12 system, we also see that they improve English reading proficiency, it decreases dropout rates, increases the likelihood that these group of students are going to go to college, and it improves their economic outcomes for students. And so I'll end here. Rhode Island Kid Scouts served on the Blueprint for Multilingual Learners Success team that was convened by the Rhode Island Department of Education alongside parents, students, educators, and community stakeholders to identify, implement, and sustain more effective policies and practices for MLL students in Rhode Island. And the bill that you have in front of you aligns with the Blueprint strategic plan for providing MLL students with high-quality bilingual and bicultural programs. I urge this committee to please pass this bill to provide more access to high-quality dual language programs in Rhode Island that not only benefits MLL students, but all students in the state. Thank you so much for being able to provide testimony today.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for hearing my testimony. My name is Erin Papa. I'm an assistant professor of world languages education at Rhode Island College. And I don't want to repeat all of the important data and facts that Jessica and Rep. Felix shared. Instead, I will share a little bit of my own story, my student's story, and talk to you a little bit about our advocacy efforts and how this led us to where we are today. In my program, I'm preparing students to teach in all grades world languages classrooms, and My program has grown when other programs in education have shrunk, and most of my students are multilingual themselves. A lot of them have learned English as an additional language. And so they want to be in schools in programs like this that are designed to promote and sustain their home languages and help other students like them to maintain their languages while they're learning English. So we have people interested in working in these schools, in these programs. So I hope that you will support them, and I urge passage of this bill. In my own experience, I started learning languages in middle school, and then was in the international engineering program at URI, so I learned German that way. But experiences like mine are still only allowed to the very few. This was a program, and I think a lot of districts still make that decision that only students who had certain scores in reading get to take language in middle school. So this is an important step to help us change that and to state to everyone and make the statement that languages are for all students. Our vision, I'm part of the Coalition for a Multilingual Rhode Island. Our vision is that with statewide coordination and support, we can have a robust and thriving multilingual educational system in Rhode Island that uplifts the linguistic diversity of our state and adds languages critical for full participation in the world. And this bill would really help us to do that. I've been leading these efforts for quite a while now, and we have had successes that I won't repeat that Jessica just mentioned. Another one, though, is that less than 2 years ago, we finally have now a world language specialist at RIDE, Agnieszka Bure, who is in a position now to help us lead and coordinate efforts to expand dual language programs in more districts across the state. There are several other states that we can look toward for support, and we already have strong relationships with those districts. Just to name a couple, Delaware, a small state like ours, and nearby has a strong state coordinated effort that was initiated by a former governor. Utah as well has a very well coordinated statewide effort with programs in Chinese, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian that go from grades K or 1 all the way through 12th grade, and students are taking the AP exam in 9th grade, and then in dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment courses and higher level language courses in 10th through 12th grade, so that they can enter into our higher education programs already bilingual and biliterate and positioned to complete a minor or major in a language alongside another chosen career path. So this is something that will help strengthen our state overall. And I know we say that Rhode Islanders don't leave Rhode Island, so why do we need to invest in these things? But it is still important for Rhode Island to connect with the world and be able to serve the population that lives here that is already very multilingual. So I urge passage.
Representative Kislak.
Thank you so much, both of you and Representative Felix, for bringing this forward, and everybody who's here to support this really important piece of legislation. As a good lawyer, I know not to ask questions that I don't know answers to, although this is an investigation, we get to ask questions. But I think, Professor Papa, you answered my question. I am really concerned generally about the teacher shortage and know that generally we're having problems recruiting enough teachers in the state, and it's actually a national issue right now. It sounds like from your testimony, though, that there is a workforce being developed if only we have enough classrooms open.
Yes, and I could add a little bit to that, and maybe Rep. Morales as well. We have working on another bill with Representative Morales that is, last year was called the Multilingual Educators Investment Act. We've renamed it this year to be called the Bilingual Dual Language and World Language Teachers Investment Act. And last year we were able to, we didn't pass the bill, but we were able to get the Office of the Post-Secondary Commissioner to allocate $500,000 of their $8 million in Rhode Island Reconnect funds to help people who are pursuing those certifications to complete their certification requirements. And we've already connected at least 30 individuals with those funds, and so they're already in touch and receiving those supports. So there is a workforce out there. We are connecting with them, and we are, as a coalition, trying to work out all of the bureaucratic hurdles that are getting in the way.
Thank you very much. Peggy DeJardis. And Gonzalez. I can't read. Nadia. Well, welcome. Please proceed. And if you could try to limit your testimony to around 2 minutes. If you have something new to add, please add it. Please don't read. We can just give us your written statements, and we'll enter them into the record. So, Peggy, welcome, and please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I will not read verbatim. I am, however, representing, my name is Peggy Desjardins. I am, however, wearing 2 hats today with the United Way of Rhode Island and the Workforce Alliance of Rhode Island, so I want to make sure that their points are clear. The benefits of bilingual education are well documented and well understood. I'd like to speak for the Workforce Alliance in emphasizing the importance of bilingual education in developing a robust workforce development and adult education system here in the state. All indicators point towards need for increased bilingual employees, especially in the fastest growing industries. In the state of Rhode Island, that's healthcare. For the adult educators that meet as part of the Workforce Alliance, they're working towards workforce development in adult education, primarily for speakers of English as a second language. And those workers have such great value that they bring to their careers. It is imperative that those workers are able to access high-paying, high-quality, high-benefit jobs. This is an equity issue, as my predecessors have discussed. This is about raising our lowest earning and our most impoverished communities up out of poverty and building a stronger Rhode Island. Thank you.
Welcome, Nadia, and feel free to read if I know you have
Thank you.
something that you've spent time with, so feel
Thank you.
free.
Dear Chairman McNamara and member of the Education Committee, my name is Nadia Gonzalez, and I support the House Bill 7514. I strongly believe that it's very important for the student to be able to study and learn in both English and their native language. And for that, we need more teachers who can be certified in a more accessible way. I have 2 children in high school, and as a mother, I saw how frustrating it was for them to study only in English when they started study here. I also work as a community organizer at Amor, where I see how difficult it is for the children to learn, because as in the majority of migrants, we are learning the language here, like me. And I would like to see my community with greater access to a good education. So thank you for support the House Bill number 7514.
Buen trabajo, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Yep.
Chairman, actually, just a statement. So the last 3 people that have testified, we don't have your written testimony submitted, so you may want to consider doing that. So again, we have all the facts rather than just how you abbreviated it. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Alicia Pratt, CMRI. Welcome, Alicia. Please proceed.
Hello. My name is Alicia Pratt, and thank you for hearing my testimony today. I'm the coordinator for the Coalition for a Multilingual Rhode Island, and I'm coming to you today as a first-generation Mexican-American that was also a former ESL student. And the reason for my success now is actually in spite of the programs that I was in, because I did not have, during my formative years, bilingual programs that supported me. I'm extremely grateful that I had a robust network of people that uplifted my home language and allowed me to retain my home language while also gaining English literacy and fluency. But that was 20 years ago, and I'm still seeing my experience reflected in the life of Rhode Island students. And unfortunately, I just don't think that's okay. I think we need better programs for our students. We need to better serve our multilingual learners, families. And these programs don't just benefit multilingual learners, they are actually beneficial for learners, for monolingual and multilingual learners. I will say that conocimiento no solo existe en inglés. Knowledge doesn't just exist in English. We need to really celebrate the diversity of our state, because Rhode Island has always been multilingual and will continue to be so, but a true investment in these programs will allow us to truly celebrate that. So thank you for hearing my testimony, and I will submit my written afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness? Thank you very much. Courtney Nicolato, United Way, has signed up in support of this, not speaking. Mr. James Parisi, Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Healthcare Professionals, is also supporting it and not speaking. Eric Hazelhurst of National Education Association Rhode Island is also supporting this and not speaking. Thank you, Eric. And that concludes the testimony on 7514, and we do have written testimony. All in support, Representative Noreen?
We have several. I have not read every single. We have several. I have not read every single one of them, but yes, they appear to be all in support.
Supportive. Well, thank you very much. That concludes the hearing on 7514. The next bill we're going to hear is a little bit out of order because we have some students and children here, and that is